Mr. Chowdhury, I'm Kathleen Parker, and I have a question for you. If I understood you correctly, you said a bit ago that you support any Muslim doing the work of a Muslim. Can you describe exactly what you mean by the work of a Muslim?
Yes, I believe that Islam is submission, and that applies to every aspect of our life, whether in our relationship with our families, our relationship with society, even the way that we address people and invite them to Islam. And of course, this is something, you know, the Muslims around the world, I don't think will differ with. They may say one thing to you in front of CNN, but I can assure you behind your backs, in every masajid, in every community center, they are standing with their Muslim brothers and sisters saying, we hope the Americans and British are pushed out of our countries and we can implement the Sharia. So this is an Islamic obligation for us to support our brothers around the world. Our land is one, our war is one, our peace is one, our honor is one. These warnings are there in the statements of Sheikh Osama bin Laden, Sheikh Ayman al-Zawahiri, you know, Adam Ghaddan. You know, why is the American establishment not taking heed? I think that is the real question.
But you also want to impose Sharia law where you live. Does that mean that, does the work of a Muslim mean imposing Sharia law on everyone who is not a Muslim, including Americans?
Look, the Sharia law is the divine law sent by God to the final messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is justice for mankind. It will take mankind out of the shackles of man-made law into the perfection and beauty of divine law. So of course I want that everywhere. I want to share that with you. Surely it's a very noble thing to invite someone to a superior way of life. You know, if I believe that people are being oppressed, why should I not invite them to come out of that oppression? I believe that the Americans, the British, and indeed most of the world have been living in the darkness of the hegemony and the exploitation of man-made law for many, many decades. But, you know, when we open the door, when we shine the light, people don't like the light. But, you know, I think you'll find that when people actually have a look at Islam, when they look at the Sharia, they will see that it in fact has a solution for every single problem that is facing America and Britain nowadays, you know, from the inflation to the credit crunch to the exploitation.
Mr. Chowdhury, yes. Are you communicating with individuals in the United States and encouraging them to participate in attacks of this sort?
Of course I am. You know, I am participating in communication with people all around the world. As you know, the internet makes the world a very small place. You know, we have a lot of support, in fact, post-Wootton Bassett, from people as far as afield as Indonesia, from India.
Mr. Chowdhury, based upon your answer, I believe, and I'm sure many prosecutors will listen to your answer, you have violated U.S. law. You deserve to be arrested, prosecuted, jailed for the rest of your life. That is what you, sir, deserve. You're a violent and heinous terrorist.
I would say to you, well, you can use as much pejorative.
As far as we're concerned, sir.
You can use as much pejorative as you wish. But my invitation is a peaceful one to people to embrace Islam.
When the Muslim world reacted in fury over the Danish cartoons of Mohammed, this was the face of moderation that European Muslim leaders wanted the world to see.
The mainstream Muslims living in this country want to show that we can express our protest in a very legitimate, in a very civil, in a very courteous way.
But this is the other face of European Islam. This is footage of the demonstration outside the Danish embassy in London, provided to CBN News by the NIFA Foundation, an anti-terrorism group. What you can't see in this video is that one of the demonstrators is dressed as a suicide bomber. Even moderate British Muslims were outraged that no one was arrested, even though British law forbids incitement to murder. But it follows a pattern of extraordinary and some would say dangerous tolerance of Muslim radicals. These protests threatening bloodshed occurred in 2004, 1 year before London's 7/7 subway and bus bombings.
Now Tony Blair has been wounded. Pull your troops out of Afghanistan. Pull your troops out of Iraq. And if you do not pull your troops out, you will get bloodshed on the streets of London.
Again, no one was arrested, and moderate Muslims tried to keep the media from publicizing what for them has become a public relations nightmare.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I mean, it doesn't serve any purpose. These guys don't represent me. They probably don't represent most Muslims in this country, and they do a disservice not only to, living here in the UK, but they do a major disservice to Muslims.
They may not represent the views of most British Muslims, but polls do suggest the Muslim middle is radicalizing. A recent survey shows that 40% of British Muslims want Islamic Sharia law in the United Kingdom. Sharia imposes punishments like amputations and stonings. And in a separate poll, nearly 1/3 of Muslims agreed with the statement that Western society is decadent and immoral, and that Muslims should seek to bring it to an end. Critics say that European political correctness and multiculturalism, which were supposed to embrace Muslim radicals and somehow westernize them, have seriously backfired. And now Western Europe seems paralyzed by the political correctness that grips the government and the media.
One of the biggest fears for a lot of commentators, whether they're terrorist commentators or commentators on the Middle East, is if they actually address this whole issue of Islam and start to question it, what they fear is being labelled as an Islamophobe.
There is a real reluctance to offend the ethnic communities of any sort, let alone the Muslim community.
And there seems to be a lack of political will to stop Muslim radicals bent on conquest.
May Allah bomb you! May Osama bin Laden bomb you! May Osama bin Laden bomb you! So we can invade their country and take their wives and war booty! Allahu Akbar!
The Dutch parliament has tried to strike a blow against radical Islam by voting to ban the burqa and veils. But that exposes unveiled women to being raped by Muslim men as punishment. There is reported to be a growing rape epidemic of unveiled women in Europe. In London, Shadow Homeland Security Director Patrick Mercer of the Conservative Party says Britain remains in denial and thinks it is protected by what he calls pointless legislation.
But you have to ask yourself, what is a piece of paper going to do to an Islamist fundamentalist, or any other form of fundamentalist terrorist for that matter, and its suicide bombers? Are you going to be able to hold this up in front of them and say, don't blow yourselves up, otherwise we'll get really cross?
In France, the government continues to pretend that Muslim anti-Semitic violence is not a problem, but it couldn't keep tens of thousands of Frenchmen from marching after the brutal murder of a young Jew named Ilan Halimi by French Muslims. Halimi was held for ransom and then tortured to death by Muslim immigrants who phoned his family and recited to them verses from the Quran as their son screamed in agony. French conservative political writer Guy Millier.
A lot of Jews in Europe, and especially in France, are really scared about the future. I have many Jewish friends, and they say to me, we think we shall have to leave France to go to the United States, to Canada, to Israel, but France will not be our country anymore.
It's a similar story all over Europe. And in the wake of the Khartoum protest, a worldwide group of intellectuals recently signed a declaration that states, after having overcome fascism, Nazism, and Stalinism, the world now faces a new global threat, Islamism. It is not a clash of civilizations nor an antagonism of West and East that we are witnessing, but a global struggle that confronts democrats and theocrats. And Europe's problem with radical Muslims is our problem too. Political correctness has been the fertilizer that has helped Muslim radicalism grow in Britain. Political correctness intimidates the media and law enforcement. But Europe may be forced to choose between political correctness and the survival of its civilization. Dale Hurd, CBN News, London.
Muslims pretend to be nice people.
Oh, but this is so jarring to Canadian ears.
The Westerns are very naive. They say that they are very peaceful and love people. What are you saying?
Surely most Muslims are peaceful people.
Naive.
You're saying every Muslim is like that?
Look, every true Muslim is like that. A moderate Muslim, contemporary, polite. and moderate. But when the Islam prevails, all of them, they will become true Muslims and follow that strategy. We know them because we live among them 14 centuries. We live among them and know them very well. But the Western people did not live with them. So they just only see the peaceful way. But one day will come and they will know the truth, but it will be too late. I'm sorry to say that.
Egypt has a large Christian population. Egypt was home to many of the church fathers and the early church. It is now, is it what, 10% Christian?
Yes,
Egypt?
about.
I hear terrible, terrible stories. Not in all of the Arab world. I know Christians from Syria and Palestine and Jordan who are not maltreated. But in Egypt in particular, I hear from Christians who tell me the most horrible stories of how they're treated.
Yep.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. They killed people and still killing people. El-Kosh, a village in Upper Egypt. All the Christians there were killed, but...
When did this happen?
It's in twice. In 1999
right.
And in 2000.
So recently, last 10 years.
This is the second time, you know. And there are many countries, when any person go to the church and kill people there, you know, they say, oh, he is mad. Mad and chooses churches and go from church to kill. And is mad. Every accident, they say, oh, he is a madman.
Now, in Pakistan, a small Christian community, beautiful people, peaceful, there have been terrible cases of violence against Pakistani Christians. In Turkey, which is meant to be fairly secular, in Turkey, a Catholic priest, a nun was killed, a priest too. Indonesia, which is one of the more modern examples of Islam, young Christian schoolgirls beheaded on their way to school.
And in Iraq?
And in Iraq, Christians, since the war, under Saddam Hussein, Christians were not so badly treated.
Yes.
But since then, terrible treatment, Christians leaving the country. When in the West, though, we say Christians are being badly treated in the Muslim world, people will argue, not only Muslims, oh, you're being Islamophobic. That isn't true.
Yes.
It is true?
It's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. People in the West think that Islam is a religion, so it equals Christianity as a religion. But I want to tell them that Islam is not just a religion. Islam a state and a religion. So Islam is ideology. Islam wants to prevail the whole world.
أهلي وأحبتي فأقول لهم الملتقى الجنة إن شاء الله.
One of his comrades films as this man, apparently from Yemen, sets out to martyr himself against an American convoy not far from Cobra.
ما شعرت مثل هذا الراحة أبدا يعني أو أي شيء خطأ كذا وكل ابن آدم خطأ إن شاء الله وإن شاء الله الملتقى الجنة بإذن الله. وناصر شفت القرعة اللي أمامي؟ شفت الأمريكان أمامك أنا واضحين شفتهم؟
From a safe distance, his accomplice directs the bomber straight into the American convoy.
أنت أمشي قليل قليل وتشوفهم قدامك. الله يتقبلك يا أبو محمد من الشهداء، تقبلك الله من الشهداء يا أبو محمد. وهذا أخوكم أبو محمد الصنعاني قد أدخل في الأمريكان والمرتدين. أسأل الله العظيم يتقبل منا ومنه. أمه قبحكم الله وإن شاء الله سنكون بكم وسننصر الطالبان حتى الموت والعزة لله ولرسوله وللمؤمنين.
I just want to be fair. I want to be fair to Muslims. I want to be fair to people who practice Islam. And to be fair, you have to go beyond just the radicalization of Islam.
Are you saying, sir, that we've got to look at the radical elements in all religions, including Christianity? Okay, let's take a little look. Let's open up the door into the house of Christianity and look at the supposed radicals there. I guess you would have to say that would be the KKK. Do you know their numbers have dwindled down to about 3,000, and there is not a Bible-believing Christian who would say it's right to put a burning cross on the lawn of a black person. Maybe he's thinking about the Westboro Baptist people who make really bad signs and picket funerals. Okay, look, they're neither Baptist nor Christian, but even if in our wildest imagination we wanted to say that's radical Christianity, bringing foul signs to a funeral isn't close to blowing up people in a bus in downtown Jerusalem.
Hello everyone, it's Act 17 Apologetics again here at Dearborn, Michigan. We've been going through the various booths, getting the information that's found at tables, and here's one that I found extremely interesting. It's called Uprooting the Forces of Evil, Islam's War on Terrorism. Now, if it was written truthfully, we should be able to clarify these things by talking to the people at the booth. How about we give it a shot? Let's see what the people at the booth have to say about this pamphlet. Okay.
Now read the first question to me. Read the first question. Well, you read the first question.
No. Hold on a second. I'm worried about her. If they're telling you to stop taping, stop taping.
She can tape it.
Stop taping.
I want you to read it.
If you don't stop taping.
That's what we...
How can we help you? We have a question. We've been given a pamphlet by those people. They asked me to read it and come back to them. They knew we had a camera when they told us that. Can we go there and ask them a question?
They even said we can record it.
We talked to the police earlier, not you guys. We talked to police in uniforms. They said there's no right for anyone to stop us from recording.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
I think they're just making sure there's no
You're
problem.
going to have a dialogue? Yeah.
You're just making sure
There's a booth that says got questions. All I'm going to do is ask them questions about them.
Let's go.
As long as you guys are having a dialogue and not an argument where you're getting a group of people that are looking for trouble. You understand what we're saying?
So if they group up
and they're talking and you're talking, there's no problem.
What if they get angry and we don't?
Then we'll walk out.
Walk away.
Okay.
Come get us.
Okay.
That's what we're here. Keep everyone.
All right, cool. Okay. So who am I asking?
Okay. Before we talk, turn the camera off.
Do you hear that?
I don't want to see the camera. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up.
Don't worry about the camera. Don't worry about the camera. If you want to don't touch it.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about the camera. We're just saying if you want to answer the question.
I know.
Oh, no.
This is the lady who assaulted my friend. She grabbed the front of the camera and pulled it down.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
And she just went on, she got on her walkie-talkie and said we're harassing her.
There's a banner that says you got questions, we got answers. We just go up to there and we ask them the question.
Choose good
That's it.
reasons.
That's all we did.
That's what's happening. The security guards are sending other people over here. They're saying some of them and they send them over here.
Looks like yeah.
They're not coming, they're sending.
Looks like to distract him.
Yes, yes. He took his track. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Hey, you guys,
know where your ears are gotta be.
I have a question about Islam. I asked a question about Islam.
You guys gotta break this up. You know don't videotape. Don't videotape. You know where designated areas are supposed to be, so let's go.
Designated for what?
We already told you, don't videotape them. That's it. For preaching. Okay, don't videotape. We already talked to the police. Okay, don't videotape them.
Don't back him up.
Don't worry, I'm calling you. Okay, don't videotape them. Your area is supposed to be enticing. So have us. Don't videotape. Move on.
There is a table there that says you got questions, we got answers.
Is that your table?
We don't have a table. We don't have any table.
Okay, don't videotape them. That's it.
We have no table at all.
Go to your areas. Your designated area to preach is on Warren and Tyson.
I'm not with those.
I told you, don't videotape them. I told you, I break the camera for you. Trust me, I will. Send. Khalas.
Serious.
Okay,
Security
stop.
break the camera.
Stop videotaping. Okay, don't videotape.
Hey, you can touch my camera. This is America.
I don't care.
You cannot touch my camera.
No, don't touch it.
I'm just standing here watching.
Do not touch it.
You cannot touch my camera or me. That is assault in America. You need to back away.
Don't take picture.
No, I am allowed to take a picture for my own use. I was standing here. Hey. Don't touch me. That's assault.
Get your camera out. Get your camera out.
All of it.
Give me this.
I'm going to say it one more time. Stop videotaping.
This is security assaulting David Wood on camera. 3 times that gentleman right there. Will you share your name? Will you share your name?
You need the permission to videotape me. You know that?
David,
no, nobody's assaulting
on camera.
3 times that gentleman right there. You guys, close the camera.
Nabil, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Come on. Put it away. Put him away.
Don't take picture.
Don't take picture.
Don't take picture. Security. Don't take picture.
Where's the real cops? Where's the real cops? Look at this. This is the United States of America.
No way.
Don't take picture. Where's the real cops? Where's the real cops? Look at this.
Good. Keep walking. Keep walking, or I'll make you keep walking. Trust me, I will. Keep walking.
Your hand's shaking too much.
Keep walking. Don't videotape. You need permission from me. Don't touch them.
This is the United States of America.
Leave it. Leave it.
This is the United States of America.
No way. Keep walking.
This is what happens. This is what happens.
Okay, keep walking.
I'm a free citizen who's come here to record a question, and these guys have been smacking the camera, have been assaulting us.
I never touched the camera.
Welcome to Sharia in the United States.
Sharia.
Look at this. Look at this. This is YouTube material right here.
This is YouTube, right?
And it's going to court. All of it. All of it.
Be taken care of right now. Hey, make sure you guys keep on site on that.
Hey, David, this way. This man just tried to trip me. This man just tried to trip me.
These 2 guys right there will be taken care of right now. Hey, make sure you guys keep on site on that.
Hey, David, this way. This way. This man just tried to trip me. There we go. Officer. Officer.
Yes, we will film it.
Don't get like your phone.
We have them assaulting us. We have them slapping our cameras.
You have to leave right now.
Okay.
We're just trying to leave.
Get back.
All we're trying to do is leave.
Okay. Hey, Okay, these two guys have to leave right now. These two have to leave the premises.
We have everything on camera that happened. We have.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
So you know everything that happened right here.
And we want to leave.
Okay.
And these gentlemen have been trying to trip us. They've been hitting.
No, we haven't. You're lying. We have not. No, I haven't. No, you're lying. You're lying.
We got on camera. We're walking just as you are.
Okay.
Hey, you must be Mr. Alamgir, huh?
Yes, I am.
Good.
How you doing? You okay, yeah?
Yeah, I'm fine. And what are you doing here? What is the...
We're just calling to Islam, and we're trying to make awareness about what Islam is and what the Sharia is, and obviously for both Muslim and non-Muslims, the advantages that Islam brings.
For non-Muslims? But I'm a non-Muslim, so I'm a...
Yeah, this is
I'm a kufr.
You're kuffar, as they say, yeah.
Yes,
But
so.
obviously kuffar means a disbeliever, someone that disbelieves in God or disbelieves in Islam or disbelieves in the Prophet Muhammad. But obviously Islam is for the non-Muslims as well as the Muslims. Obviously I can invite you to Islam and maybe you become Muslim yourself.
But if I don't want to become a Muslim, should I live according to Sharia then?
I want Sharia to dominate the whole world.
So then I have to live under Sharia.
Yeah, of course. The same way, the same way the Muslims today, they're forced to live under democracy and freedom, and we can see that countries like Britain, America are going to force their secular fundamentalism in countries like Iraq and Afghanistan. The same way we as Muslims, we're going to enforce this law, the Sharia law, God's law, the law of the prophets upon the people. Now, obviously, you have the option to stay under Sharia law, or you can go wherever you want. But know that the Sharia is going to take over the East and the West. So there's no way to hide from the Sharia. If you look to Belgium at the moment, for over a year you've been without a government, meaning that the solutions that man is providing at the moment are not working for the people. So what we as Muslims are providing is a solution from God.
Islam is a religion of peace. It's ridiculous to suggest that these people would want to take over, to infiltrate our society, oh so subtly, have lots of kids, and then ultimately when they get to a position of majority and power that they'll want to take over and impose Sharia law. Don't be ridiculous. They never do that in America, like they're doing in Belgium.
The graffiti says it all. Welcome to Belgistan. Muslims are still a minority in Belgium, but in the capital of Brussels, they're already the largest religious group, 1/4 of the city's population, and are expected to be the majority in less than 20 years. The most confrontational Muslim group here is Sharia for Belgium, which used shouting and threats to shut down a debate by moderate Muslims a few months ago. I sat down and talked to the leader of Sharia for Belgium, Foud Boukassem, alias Abu Imran.
Sharia for Belgium is a small group that a lot of people don't take seriously. But he sounded very serious when he told me that he expects Muslims to rule Belgium and the world.
We believe that the Sharia will dominate. The Sharia will be implemented worldwide.
Sharia for Belgium is a public relations nightmare for those Muslim groups which try to play down their ties to radicalism and Sharia law. Imran was completely open with CBN News, saying Islam and Sharia law are inseparable and democracy is wrong.
Sharia is Islam, to be clear. There is no difference between Islam and Sharia. It's just a name. Democracy is the opposite of Sharia and Islam. We believe that Allah is the legislator. Allah makes the laws. He is the one who tells us what's allowed and what's forbidden.
I know some Muslims who think of themselves as Democrats and they say they're against Sharia. Are they real Muslims?
Yeah, it's really funny when I hear someone saying, yeah, I was speaking to a democratic Muslim. It's the same thing as saying I was speaking to a Christian Jew or to a Jewish Muslim or something like that. It's impossible. How could you meet a Jewish Muslim or a Christian Jew? And the Muslim that says he's against Sharia, he's not a Muslim. It's impossible.
The solution is Islam, my friend. Communism is dead. Capitalism is dying. Islam is the way forward, my friend.
Yeah, but how many people are you? 3, 4, 5?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Look to Sheikh Osama bin Laden. He was one man. One man took on the superpower of America and his alliance. The whole world's armies gathered against one Muslim. What a failure on behalf of the West. What a failure on behalf of the Americans. It took over 3 presidents, over $1 trillion. It took the world's armies, and now after 10 years, you got Sheikh Osama bin Laden. Now imagine if 10 Muslims like him rose. Would you be able to stop us? You wouldn't. Because we know, look to what happened to Sheikh Osama. So if you're just worried about a few people, you should be worried just because of a few handful of Muslims. Because that's all it takes. That's all it takes to establish Islam.
We spoke with people from the mosque.
Yes.
And they say they don't want your version of Islam.
Yeah. Because
and there are much more people.
Yeah, hold on.
They don't want you.
Because they want to compromise. As a Muslim, I don't believe you can compromise. If they feel they're under duress, if they feel they don't have the freedom to implement Islam and Sharia, that is your problem. This is a problem you caused.
No.
But this is something which I'm not going to do.
Most of the Muslims, they want to
Let
respect
me ask you a question.
the laws of the land.
Do the Muslims have the freedom to implement Sharia? This is your value, not my value. Do they have the freedom to implement Sharia? The answer is no.
In your house?
The system we will live by with only the system of Allah. That's why they never objected to the Taliban. They were willingly covering. No, of course they didn't object.
They were killed.
No, it's not. Well, if we object democracy, we're arrested. So what's the difference? What are you saying?
Little sister, I spoke with women there who were crying because what happened to them. They were crying about what happened to them.
And there's many women and children that are crying because of America's and British oppression against it. So
both of them.
Their oppression was.
And I condemn both crimes.
Yeah.
Both crimes, really.
Yeah. Any
Can
other
you believe that? Really?
No, I don't believe you because you're non-Muslim. So.
Ah, you don't believe it?
No, I don't.
So then this stops, I think.
Yes.
I mean,
any questions?
no, thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
This is a Friday in Paris, filmed by hidden camera. The streets are blocked by a huge crowd of Muslim worshippers, and it's enforced by private security. This is all illegal in France: the public worship, the blocked streets, and the private security. But the police have been ordered not to intervene. It shows that even though some in the French government want to get tough with the Muslims and ban the burqa, other parts of the French government continue to give Islam privileged status. An ordinary French citizen who was watching the Islamization of Paris decided that the world needed to see what was happening to his city. So he bought a hidden camera and started posting the videos on YouTube. His life has been threatened, and so we're concealing his identity. He uses the alias of Maxime Lepant.
They are blocking the streets with barriers. They are praying on the ground, and the inhabitants of this district cannot leave their home nor go into their home during those prayers. The Muslims who are taking over those streets do not have any authorization. They do not go to the police headquarters, so it's completely illegal.
These Muslims have been granted unofficial rights that no Christian group is likely to get under France's laïcité or secularism law.
So it says people have the right to share any belief they want, any religion, but they have to practice at home or in the mosque, synagogues, churches, and so on.
Some say these Muslims must pray in the street because they need a larger mosque, but Maxime has observed cars coming from other parts of Paris, and he believes it's a weekly display of Muslim power.
They are coming there to show that they can take over some French streets, to show that they can conquer a part of the French territory.
If France faces an Islamic future, it took a Russian to write about it. It's the best-selling novel The Mosque of Notre Dame, 2048, a bestseller in Russia, not in France. The French publisher Jean Robin says the French media ignored the book for being politically incorrect.
So Islam is seen as the religion of the poor people. And so you can't say to the poor people, you're wrong, otherwise you're a fascist. That's how it goes.
The book lays out a dark future when France has become a Muslim nation and the famous cathedral has been turned into a mosque. Whether that plot is far-fetched depends on whom you ask. Muslims are said to be no more than 10% of the French population, although no one knows for sure because French law prohibits population counts by religion. But the birth rate for Muslims is significantly higher than for native French. Some Muslim men are said to practice polygamy, a charge this man faced, in some cases with each extra wife having children and collecting a welfare check.
With Islam, it's not only a problem of numbers. The problem of Islam is a problem of really principles. Is Islam a political ideology or is it just a creed?
French philosopher Radu Stănescu is an Islamic expert who debates Muslim leaders on French TV.
It doesn't matter how many they are. The problem is the people who follow Islam are there somehow in a political party who has a political agenda which means basically implementing Sharia and build an Islamic state.
From the 1980s until just recently, it was a social taboo to criticize or oppose Islam, and so the government and media effectively helped Islam spread throughout the country.
We were expecting Islam to adapt to France, now it's France adapting itself to Islam.
About the veil, this Muslim says Europeans should respect Muslim dress. This woman says the veil is in the Quran, and we only submit to God, and nobody else. Even if many government elites in France are in denial over Islam, the people in the streets increasingly are not. And they're becoming fed up with what they see as the growing Islamization of this country. They've started staging pork and wine aperitifs or cocktail parties in the street. They're patriotic demonstrations meant to strike back against Islam. Another national demonstration is planned for this Saturday. It looks as if a public backlash against Islam has begun. The French Parliament will debate a new burqa law this month, and this French leader has a warning for the West and for America.
We cannot accept the development of such practice because it's not compatible with the life in a modern society, you see? And this question is not only a French question. You will all have to face this challenge.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, Paris.
They talk about the burqa. So you've got burqas just everywhere. Everywhere. They've got no place in modern society, burqas. The burqa's just a complete... That to integration, that to Britain.
On the eve of the EDL's march into London's Tower Hamlets, Tommy Robinson took us on a tour of another neighborhood much closer to his home.
This area here, I used to come down this area with my mum when I was younger. Just to go shopping. This area now is literally just a complete Muslim area. It's got 19 mosques all within a stone's throw. And plans for another 6.
So driving through this area, are you unwelcome here?
Oh yeah, I'm completely unwelcome here, yeah.
What would happen if you were to walk through the streets here?
If I was walking the streets, I'd get battered. If I tried to walk from one end to the other, I wouldn't get out. Because they get on their phones so quickly. There's Saif al-Islam, that one there. Yeah, he's the leader. Yeah. What? What have I got to talk to you about? What have I got to talk to you about? What have I got to talk to you about?
What have you got to say about Islam and that, innit?
Yeah, I have,
yeah. Yeah? So why didn't you say it now?
What do you want me to say?
Yeah?
Ideology, it's got no place.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's got no place, bruv.
And what you
Sharia
got?
law has got no place in this country.
Got?
What do you mean, what have I got?
Go on, tell me,
What
what do you stand for?
What do I stand for?
Yeah, what do you stand for?
Integration, bruv. I don't stand for paedophilic practices, yeah?
Yeah? What do you stand for? Go on, tell me.
What do you mean, what do I stand for? What do you stand for? How's it racism? How's it racism? How's it racist to oppose a fascist ideology?
Fascist ideology?
It is
And what
fascist.
do you're racist.
How am I racist?
You hate Asians,
what
yeah?
race? What race are Asians? What race are Muslims?
I heard. Come on, Clown. Where are you running away from?
Because I know, I'm not going to know what you like, bruv. You have about 100 you in a minute. You f***ing little chief. Minute. You f***ing chief. Prick. You see? That is You f***ing little prick. The thing is, you get out of this car, they'll be here from everywhere. Watch. Watch how many of them now turn up. Watch how many of them now turn up. I'll do your window up so you can't get out, because I'm telling you, look, that is what they're like, you see? Now you understand, innit? Do you think that that man is usually a nice, tolerant person? Do you think that he's bringing his children up to be tolerant towards our children? No.
Obama terrorist! Obama terrorist! USA terrorist! USA terrorist! La ilaha illallah! Muhammadur Rasulullah! Muhammadur Rasulullah! La ilaha illallah! Jihad fi sabilillah! La ilaha illallah!
Anniversary of 9/11, the 10th anniversary of a great victory for the Muslim Ummah. It has been really manifested clearly on the defeat of the U.S. forces.
For the last 10 years, all of your precious ideas, all of your values have also been crushed in rubble. Democracy, liberalism, freedom. Where are they today?
How many young men of the British and the Americans have lost their lives, wasted their lives for nothing? Do you believe your dead are somehow in a better place? They are in the hell.
Go and tell your armies, go tell the British Army, go tell the American Army, these people, they are extremists. They believe jihad will continue and will continue and will continue until we destroy the ideas of democracy and freedom, and we see your flag, the American flag, under our feet, and we see the flag of Islam dominant across the east and the west. This is what we see.
And I say to you, Islam is coming. You will never defeat the Muslims. You will always face suffering. You will always face humiliation unless you withdraw your troops, unless you decide to give peace, i.e. Islam, and the domination of Islam a chance. Otherwise, there will be no peace in your cause.
Allahu Akbar! Oh, shut your mouth! Shit, fucking prick! That's right, guys! Allahu Akbar! That's right! Look at the children! Just follow the police! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Free, free, Palestine! 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 Please, slow down. Get the camera. Palestine! Free, free, 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 Palestine! Allahu Run! Run! Run, you cowards! Run, you cowards! Kuffar! Run, you kuffs! Run, you kuffs! Allahu Akbar! MashaAllah! MashaAllah! Mar! Put it out! Hey, don't give everyone a bad name! They're gonna get it. Fucking cowards! Cowards!
Chip, chop, 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 chop. Alright, leave him alone. Let's have a fucking war. Watch this one, watch this one. None of that coming. I've got your camera. I'm watching you,
I must admit that I too, among hundreds of millions of educated people, was under the impression that the African slave trade was the sole responsibility of the Christian Europeans, the white race. That is, until I started exploring the subject in greater depth, and especially after reading an incredibly enlightening book called The Legacy of Arab Islam in Africa by John Alambila Azuma. My whole perspective and understanding has changed dramatically, and I would like you to tell us more about this subject.
The success of Muhammadan Islam in deceiving, misinforming, deforming and contorting both history and reality over a period of almost 1400 years has been astounding. That is, until now. The greatest tragedy about this particular subject is that most of the descendants of African slavery, the black people in the Americas, around the world, as well as among the African blacks, are totally ignorant of the actual facts. Before we lose the concentration of our listeners, I would like to make the following statement and then prove it. That the worst, most inhumane and most diabolical institution of the black African slave trade was initiated, refined, perpetrated and implemented by the Mohammedan Arabs and later aided and abetted by the black converts to Mohammedan Islam. I predict that, as usual, the two subcultures, those of denial of facts and of political correctness, will attack us without once disproving a single statement and or conclusion that we make. Slavery was not created by the white races, because it has existed throughout human history and practiced by every tribe, culture, civilization, racial group and religion. In fact, the very word slavery has its root in the name Slav, based upon the Slavic peoples of Europe who were subjugated by other Europeans. It is not common knowledge that the Arabic word abd is synonymous with the meaning of slave. For example, Abdullah means literally the slave of Allah, and that in the language of the Arabs, all black peoples are called abid, plural, for slaves. While much has been written concerning the transatlantic slave trade, surprisingly little attention has been paid to the Islamic slave trade across the Sahara, the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. While the European involvement in the African transatlantic slave trade to the Americas lasted for just over 3 centuries, the Arab involvement in the African slave trade has lasted 14 centuries, and in some parts of the Mohammedan world is still continuing to this day. The birth of Mohammedan Islam and its conquests brought about the birth of institutionalized, systematized, and religiously sanctioned slave trade on a massive and global scale. In fact, the Quran allows the taking of slaves as booty or reward for wars of aggression against any and all unbelievers, most of the human population. This has led to an enormous number of so-called holy wars, jihad in Arabic. There was and is absolutely nothing holy about these wars, which are primarily to plunder, slaughter, rape, subjugate and rob other human beings of their wealth, produce, freedom and dignity. Mohammedan Muslim states and tribes attacked other non-Muslim groups to achieve these objectives. Although Islamic jurisprudence laid down regulations for the treatment of slaves, however, incredible and heinous abuses have occurred throughout the history of Muhammadan Islam. By the Middle Ages, the Arabic word abd was in general used to denote a black slave, while the word mamluk referred to a white slave. Ibn Khaldun, 1332 to 1406, the preeminent Islamic medieval historian and social thinker, wrote, "The Negro nations are, as a rule, submissive to slavery, because they have attributes that are quite similar to dumb animals." It should also be noted that black slaves were castrated based on the assumption that the blacks had an ungovernable sexual appetite. When the Fatimid Caliphate came to power in Egypt, they slaughtered all the tens of thousands of black military slaves and raised an entirely new slave army. Some of these slaves were conscripted into the army at age 10. From Persia to Egypt to Morocco, slave armies from 30,000 to up to 250,000 became commonplace. The Islamic slave trade took place across the Sahara Desert, from the coast of the Red Sea, and from East Africa across the Indian Ocean. The Trans-Sahara trade was conducted along 6 major slave routes. Just in the 19th century, for which we have more accurate records, 1.2 million slaves were brought across the Sahara into the Middle East, as well as a further 450,000 down the Red Sea and 442,000 from the East African coastal ports. That is a total of 2 million black slaves just in the 1800s. At least 8 million more were calculated to have died before reaching the Muslim slave markets. A comparison of the Islamic slave trade to the American slave trade reveals some extremely interesting contrasts. While 2 out of every 3 slaves shipped across the Atlantic were men, the proportions were reversed in the Islamic slave trade. 2 women for every man were enslaved by the Muslims. While the mortality rate of slaves being transported across the Atlantic was as high as 10%, the percentage of slaves dying in transit in the Trans-Sahara and East African slave market was a staggering 80 to 90%. While almost all the slaves shipped across the Atlantic were for agricultural work, most of the slaves destined for the Muslim Middle East were for sexual exploitation as concubines, in harems, and for military service. While many children were born to the slaves in the Americas, the millions of their descendants are citizens in Brazil and the United States today. Very few descendants of the slaves that ended up in the Middle East survived. While most slaves who went to the Americas could marry and have families, most of the male slaves destined for the Middle East were castrated, and most of the children born to the women were killed at birth. It is estimated that possibly as many as 11 million Africans were transported across the Atlantic, 95% of which went to South and Central America, mainly to Portuguese, Spanish, and French possessions. Only 5% of the slaves ended up in what we call the United States today. However, a minimum of 28 million Africans were enslaved in the Muslim Middle East. Since at least 80% of those captured by Muslim slave traders were calculated to have died before reaching the slave markets, it is believed that the death toll from 1400 years of Arab and Muslim slave raids into Africa could have been as high as 112 millions. When added to the number of those sold in the slave markets, the total number of African victims of the Trans-Saharan and East African slave trade could be significantly higher than 140 million people. What is obscene about this whole subject is the Muhammadan Muslim and Arab culture of denial regarding their complicity in the African slave trade, as well as the ignorance of black Muslims about the reality of their past and present conditions. The statistics and reports above are based upon the logbooks kept at the African slave ports, ship logs, travelers' reports, eyewitness accounts, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, the facts and reality of Muhammadan Islam's complicity in the slave trade and their inhuman depravity are infinitely more devastating, more staggering, and more incomprehensible than all the nightmare fiction.
الزواج قسمان. القسم الأولاني عقد قران، إجراء عقد القران، هذا شيء. والبناء يعني الدخول على الزوجة هذا موضوع آخر. فأما إجراء العقد فهذا أمر يعني ليس له سن معينة في إجراء العقد. يعقد على، حتى يمكن أن يعقد على فتاة عمرها سنة زمان، مش 9 سنين ولا 7 سنين ولا 8 سنين. هذا مجرد عقد إيجاب وقبول بين، بس الولي يكون هنا هو الأب لأنه ولي مجبر فتصير زوجته. لكن هل الفتاة أو البنت محل للدخول أم لا؟ طبعا وكم سن الدخول المناسب؟ هذا يختلف باختلاف البيئات وباختلاف الأعراف عند الناس. ممكن في اليمن كانوا يزوجوا من 9 و10 و11 و8 و13. في بعض الدول تزوج من 16. في بعض الدول أصدرت قوانين ألا يتم الدخول إلا بعد 18 عام. ولنا في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قدوة حسنة، حيث عقد على زوجته عائشة وكان سنها 6 سنوات وبنى عليها، يعني دخل عليها صلى الله عليه وسلم 9 سنوات.
يقول 6 سنوات.
لا، عقد عليها وهي 6
وتزوج.
يعني العقد في 6 والبناء اللي هو الدخول في 9 سنوات. ولنا في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم
نعم
أسوة حسنة.
بس خليني أوضح لك شغلة.
ولكن طبعا
أنا سؤالي لك إنه واحد عمره 12 سنة، واحدة عمرها 11 سنة، هل هذا الزواج منطقي مجاز شرعيا؟
إذا كان الولي الأب، ما هو الولاية تنقسم إلى قسمين، يا يكون الولي هو الأب، فإذا زوج الأب ابنته على الرجل الكفء لها فهذا طبعا زواج صحيح. يعني في ظروف للناس، واحد رجل عنده بنتين 3 4 وطبعا يريد أن يسافر، لديه ظروف. طيب هل تضيع هذه وليس لديها محارم؟ أليس من الأفضل أننا نعقد لها على إنسان تبقى عنده حتى يصونها وحتى يصرف عليها، فإذا ما بلغت سن الدخول دخل عليها؟ وما قال أن الناس كلهم ذئاب كاسرة.
Regardless, if that person, according to our laws, even at the age of, according to this Canadian law, if someone sleeps... Who cares about the Canadian law? Okay. Who cares about the Canadian law? Listen to me, Hashim. He claimed to follow Christ. Look, if you sleep around with a 9-year-old, you're called a pedophile according to our law.
It's against Christ. How are you going to preach Christ?
Listen, Hashim, if you sleep with a 9-year-old in this country, you're called a pedophile.
Okay, but you know what? A 9-year-old is considered an adult. She reaches puberty. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because a woman becomes an adult when she attains puberty. Whether she's 9 years old or 10 years old, automatically when she attains puberty, right, she's now an adult. Now, to take it back to the example of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, right? What happened was the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, married Aisha when she was like, I believe, like 6 or 7, right? But he consumed the marriage when she attained puberty. So when the Prophet Muhammad married Aisha, that marriage was more of a promise, right? So, but when she attained, it was a promise. That marriage was a promise. It was consummated
at 9 years old.
When she was, I believe, I'm not sure.
I know it's 9 years old.
There's different opinions. Some people say 11, some people say 9. But whatever the age is,
both children, 9 or 11, they're still child.
Whether it's 11 or 9 years old, right? At that time, she became an adult. She was an adult automatically because she attained puberty. So when she attained puberty, whether it was at 9 or 11, that's when the Prophet Muhammad put him to the marriage.
Machine. Right? You're gonna slap someone because they differ from you. They think that's pedophilia. You don't think it's pedophilia, and you somehow thought it was right to slap a man in his face.
Yes.
Because he differs.
Yes. Yes.
So let me ask you something.
Why? Because you know why he's slapping in his face now? He's not gonna go around and make that statement again. He'll never make that statement again. Because he knows that if he makes that statement again.
Hashim, you don't go around slapping people.
Oh, I'll do it again. If somebody's going to insult our prophet,
in the name
right?
of who?
Right? We'll slap.
Is this you doing it, or is this Islam?
No, that's Islam.
To go around and slap people when they disagree with you? That's Islam?
Slapping is nothing.
Brother.
That's nothing. Gets killed when he married her.
No, wait a second. So you're telling me Islam gives you the license to go slap people because they disagree with you?
No. Slapping is nothing.
That's nothing.
No. In other countries.
So it's okay to slap people.
In other countries.
So you're telling me Islam says it's okay to slap people?
In other countries, anybody who insults the Prophet Muhammad, who's your opponent, gets killed.
Okay, so it's okay.
Slapping is nothing.
So if I go around, I want to preach my religion, I say that Muhammad's a false prophet according to my faith, I deserve death?
Yes.
My brother,
listen.
So obviously it's a big difference between Canada and that other country.
In the Bible.
So
basically
when you come along,
Muhammad Islam is prophesied in the Bible.
So you're basically telling me that Islamic law tells me that if I preach something different from Islam, if I say that I don't believe in Muhammad as a true prophet, I believe he's a false prophet, you're telling me Islam says it's okay to kill that person.
Oh yeah, if you go to a Muslim country and go and preach that, they kill you. You can't.
So okay. The difference with your version of Islam. Hold on. The difference with your version of Islam.
It's not my version of Islam.
What version?
Right?
Is it the Islam?
It's the Islamic law. If you go around preaching that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a prophet in the Muslim country, you get killed.
Okay, so that's right.
Islamic
that's
law.
right.
That's Islamic law.
Right.
But you can't talk against it.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, let me finish what I was going to say.
No, you don't talk against us. You know why?
Why would you talk against us? Hold on. He's telling me. Hold on.
You can't
talk against who?
Our own country.
A belief or you as a person?
In our own country, you can't talk.
So you can't disagree with my belief.
No. You can't talk against us in our own country.
Against you or against your belief?
It's like coming to our own house and telling us to go out.
So it's okay for you to come to a parent Christian country and preach your religion?
Of course. No, this is not a Christian country.
It's not. So why do you make a distinction?
We have the right to practice our own religion.
Good.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something.
That's why he's talking.
So let me tell you something. First of all, let me say there's a difference between your version of Islam, which you say is
not my version.
Fine. Okay, let me finish what I'm saying.
This is
according to
law.
the difference.
You cannot go to a Muslim country and preach Christianity.
The difference. Okay.
What he did.
Okay, fine.
That's his character.
Fine. That's fine. I'm mature enough to know. But the difference between. Let me finish. The difference between what you say is Islam and according to the teachings of Jesus. Jesus told his disciples to go into the world, share the gospel. The gospel means good news. The good news is that God so loved the world, and he's offering his mercy and forgiveness to everyone who wants to believe. For those who do not believe, it's okay. You don't have to force them. You don't have to kill them. And if they preach against you, you know what Jesus said? He said, if anyone curses you, bless them. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other. Pray for those who hold on. Pray for those to persecute.
That's us too. That's us too. Yeah, I tell you what.
This is Christian.
Go to Surah Toba, verse 29. Read that carefully. Yeah, that's us too. Listen. Go same way. Go to Surah Toba and verse 29. Read that carefully. It says kill every other religion. That's different interpretation. You take your own interpretation of that.
If you follow Christian,
you're wrong, sir.
Christian ethics is not to establish this forced religion that if you preach against Christianity, it's okay to kill. But according to your final religion, it is okay to kill if someone says that Islam is wrong. The majority of the Muslims here, do they agree with what this Muslim who says that this is Islamic law to kill anyone who, if I believe that Muhammad was not a prophet, and I say publicly that Muhammad was a false prophet according to my belief, according to Islamic law.
If you go to Afghanistan and you say that,
hold on. According to, hold on. Let me say what I gotta say. Let me say what I gotta say.
You have to keep your mouth shut.
Let me say what I gotta say.
You cannot go around and preaching Christianity.
Let me say what I gotta say. According to, if I were to believe as a Christian, because here's the case. I have a Christian book that tells me that Jesus died on the cross. That tells me that God loves me. That tells me that I can be forgiven by God if I accept the message of Jesus Christ. This is what it says in my Injil. Right. I have 600, and it also says that Jesus is the Son of God, not that God had a baby in the literal sense, but that this is what the hold on, let me finish.
We respect your belief.
Let me finish. What the Injil says is that God can make His love known to us. He can express His holiness to us. He can make His mercy known to us, and He does that through Jesus Christ perfectly. This is my belief. What it says in the Injil. Hold on, I don't need the 2 cents there. So we have now a belief that Christians have believed for over 2,000 years. We have someone come along 600 years after that says everything, the most important thing for a Christian is to believe that Jesus died on the cross and that Jesus was the Son of God. This is for a Christian. Now you have someone who comes along 600 years later, basically says everything you Christians believe is a lie. Jesus did not die on a cross. Jesus is not the Son of God. Your Bible is corrupted. Everything, basically, Christianity that you guys claim to have is a stupid religion. Hold on.
We don't say that.
Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Okay. I think you're thinking something different. What I'm trying to say is that you have a religion and a prophet that comes along discrediting everything that Christians believe dear and true. Basically, you're saying that my belief will send me to hell because I'm committing shirk. Basically, you say that if I believe Jesus is the Son of God, that He died on the cross, I'm incorrect, it's false, this is a corruption. So basically, you're calling my book a lie. You're saying that whatever.
No,
you don't say it with words, but you're saying that basically when you come out the Quran,
we don't believe it.
This is, hold on. Let's be honest here. You don't have to say. I agree. You just said what I just said. My Bible's changed, yours is right. So you come along basically saying what I got is basically corrupted, tampered with. My beliefs are false. You have to believe Islam. Now, you come along and preach that. I'm not killing you because you preach that. I'm not saying that you can believe that this Bible is false all you want. That's fine. I'm not going to have this is a Christian law that says I must kill you because of that. Now, we have this gentleman here who says Islamic law says if I now as a Christian would come along and say based on my belief, Muhammad, what he said, Jesus never died on a cross, he wasn't the Son of God, I can't accept that. He's a false prophet according to my belief. He's wrong. The Quran is wrong according to my belief. I believe in the Bible. If I were to preach that and tell people, you know, you need to believe in Jesus, you need to believe in the Bible, in an Islamic law, I deserve to be killed. I deserve to be imprisoned or whatever.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's true. You know why?
There you go.
Let me explain. explain. Let me explain. No, let me explain.
You make us look bad. We don't say that.
No, why? No, let me.
No, he's just a bad boy.
Let me make my point.
So if I go around, I want to preach my religion, I say that Muhammad's a false prophet according to my faith, I deserve death?
Yes. It's Islamic law. If you go around preaching that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a prophet in a Muslim country, you get killed.
Okay, so that's right?
Islamic
That's
law.
right?
That's Islamic
That's
law.
right?
But he can't talk against it. You don't talk.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, let me finish what I was going to say.
No, you don't talk against us.
You know why?
Why would you talk against us?
Hold on. He's telling me. Hold on.
No, you can't.
Talk against who?
Our own country.
A belief or you as a person?
In our own country, you can't talk against us.
So you can't disagree with my belief?
No, you can't talk against us in our own country.
Against you or against your belief?
It's like coming to our own house and telling us to go out.
So it's okay for you to come to a parent Christian country and preach your religion?
No, this is not a Christian country.
It's not. So why do you make a distinction?
We have the right to practice our own religion.
Good.
And of course, this is something, the Muslims around the world, I don't think will differ with. They may say one thing to you in front of CNN, but I can assure you, behind your backs, in every masajid, in every community center, they are standing with their Muslim brothers and sisters saying, we hope the Americans and British are pushed out of our countries and we can implement the Sharia. So this is an Islamic obligation for us to support our brothers around the world. Our land is one, our war is one, our peace is one, our honor is one.
We are not a military organization in this country. We're out there to engage people in confrontation. We're not planning any kind of operations. If we were doing so, you would not see us out open publicly. But that does not mean that we do not believe in the eradication of man-made law and supremacy and sovereignty only for God. And the way the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ eradicated the non-Islamic law from the Arabian Peninsula, we hope one day to eradicate the Islamic law from Britain, with the generations to come from the rest of the world, to fulfill the prophecy of the Prophet that the whole of the world will one day be under the authority of the Muslims.
I want to turn it over to Osama. Anjem said that Sharia law would enhance society and it would benefit us, and we should, I'm sure he believes that we should get rid of the Constitution. Who exactly determines that? Do Muslims determine that, or what's the gauge or what's the measurement point for that?
I would love for him to show us anywhere in the 57 Muslim countries around the world where Sharia, Islamic law, have done any good to any Muslim or to any human in such countries. I don't know how does he like for the punishment of sin by, for example, the thief, when he steals, you cut his hand. And when women commit adultery, they stone them to death. And forcing everybody into a religion of Islam, Christian and Jew, to be literally given the option of 9-5, the verse of the sword, to be killed, or to be put to slavery, or become Muslim. So I don't understand what is good for America to become a Muslim country, or to become a slave country, all American to be slave to the Muslim, or perhaps everybody in America become Muslim, or everybody in Saudi Arabia on a Muslim world, they walk in the street with no hands. I don't understand. What is good come out of evil? Sharia, Islamic law, is nothing but an evil act from Satan Almighty, the Allah of Muhammad, the God of Muhammad, to kill and destroy and steal. That is exactly what the Bible tells us about Satan, and that's exactly what Allah, the God of Muhammad, command Muhammad and his followers to do. No good can come out of evil. Perhaps he is in the Holy Land, or in maybe what he calls this Disney World. He does not know the reality of Sharia, or because he's just live in England, he have not seen what corruption, what evil can come out of Sharia, Islamic law. I wish I know how much you know about Islam, because this will help me to know if you really understand Islam before we talk about any good can come out of the evil of Islamic law.
Assalamu alaikum. We're gonna eat downstairs, but I've got some crew with me. You don't mind it?
Have you seen this one? What does it say? That's the American, this is the American major in the army who turned on his colleagues.
Well, I don't think he went crazy. I think what he did, he woke up to his reality, as a Muslim, and he realised that, in fact,
you know, his so-called fellow comrades were going and occupying Muslim land and killing innocent men, women and children. And it's something that he could not handle, really, and he realized, I think, that he has a responsibility. And he probably did what I think many other people may do within the US Army and the British Army even, if they continue with their foreign policy. You know, it's a very severe lesson for the British and the Americans in Afghanistan, that the Afghan police are killing them, and even their own comrades are killing them. So, you know, they need to pull out. They cannot possibly win. You know, I don't feel sorry at all for the non-Muslims, because Allah said in the Quran, He said, فَلَا تَأْسَ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ. He said, don't feel sorry for the non-Muslims. You know, Allah destined for them not to embrace Islam. He destined for them to die as non-Muslims. He destined for them to go to the hellfire. So why should I feel sorry for people, you know, who ended up like that?
Many people have serious questions about the religion of Islam. Who are Muslims and what do they believe? Liberal Muslim scholars and clerics spin the news and continually promote Islam as the religion of peace, and that Jews, Christians, and Muslims worship the same God. But is this true? Where can we turn for the answers? To truly know what a faith teaches, you have to go to the book. And for the last 1400 years, that book for Muslims is the Quran. This collection of the sayings and teachings that Muhammad claimed to have received from Allah is the sacred text for over 1 billion Muslims worldwide. But the Quran was written in Arabic, so how can we in the West learn what it really says? Muslim apologists have produced several English translations over the years, but these have been carefully edited to hide many of the blatant errors, immoral teachings, and violent commands throughout the book.
In the beginning of our ministry, we decided to tell the truth about Islam. Therefore, we decided to buy the English translation of the Quran to use the verses which is written there. Sadly, I could not find one Quran to present the truth as it is written in the Arabic language. They sugarcoat it. They water it down. That's why we decided to go ahead and translate the Quran from Arabic to English, a true English translation.
The Straight Way of Grace Ministry, in cooperation with Arab and English scholars from around the world, has produced the most accurate English translation of Islam's holy book ever printed. Read for yourself exactly what Muhammad taught his followers about war and violence, about sex and marriage, about the treatment of infidels, and more importantly, what he said about Jesus.
Islam is not what I share with you or what some moderate Muslim tell you. Islam is the verses of the Quran. We must separate Muslim from Islam. There are so many wonderful Muslim people out there, but they are not true Muslim because simply they don't practice what the Quran teaches. So many American people say they accept Islam. They do not have any problem for Muslim to practice Islam in America, but same people rejecting Sharia, Islamic law, not knowing that Sharia, Islamic law, is a practice of the verse of the Quran.
This translation has been produced with the modern student in mind, with several key features including study notes for the reader, detailed notes concerning errors and contradictions in the text, careful comparisons between the Quran and biblical accounts, and references to the original sources that Muhammad borrowed from. Special sections discuss key topics such as a compilation of non-Arabic words and idioms found in the Quran, an easy-to-follow chart outlining the fulfilled prophecies concerning Jesus in the Old Testament, and a challenging gospel invitation to introduce the reader to the scientific, historical, and biblical reasons for accepting the true Jesus as the only Lord and Savior.
In the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, the Bible said, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." It is time for us to read the Quran. It's time for us to find the truth for ourselves.
For ordering and more information, please visit thestraightway.org. Read the Quran for yourself and understand the roots of this dangerous faith. Individual copy and case pricing are available.